Hello and welcome. My name is Danny Cash, and we are back with more NFL predictions. We're here at week 11 already, getting down to narrowing who's going to be in the playoffs, who's going to be in the hunt as we get closer to December and deciding some of those final spots. If you look at last week, I did pretty well. I went 11-3 last week. I think the only ones I got wrong is I picked the Jags to beat Minnesota. Now, that's my bad, not knowing that Trevor Lawrence was injured. Then I had the Rams beating Dolphins, which didn't happen on Monday night. And there was one other one. I can't remember what that was, but yeah, I went 11. Oh, I think I had the Bears over the Patriots, which that's an interesting one to look at as well. But moving forward, I feel confident that we can get a good result this week as well. There are some tough matchups to predict for sure in this week, but we'll see what we can do with it. First off, we've got the Oakland Raiders coming off of a bye, going to Miami to try to get a win. Miami looked pretty solid and pressured the Rams a fair bit, sacking Matt Stafford. And, Tua did a reasonable job on offense. There's still, I think, a few things to figure out there. But they looked pretty solid. So I think this one's going to be interesting, mainly because I do give a bit of a favor to teams coming off of the bye week. They'll be a little more rested, a little more ready to go. Oakland is coming off of a 5-game losing streak, and so they would love to be able to go into Miami and get a result here. And I also realized I called them the Oakland Raiders. I always do that. I'm still not used to them being in Las Vegas. But anyways, the Vegas Raiders going against the Dolphins. I still, despite the bye week, am going to give the momentum to Miami here. I do think as Tua gets kind of back into form, it's almost like he's having his own preseason of sorts where he's getting back into the rhythm of things. I think he's going to continue to get better. He won't maybe miss his receivers as much, and they'll get to a little bit more comfortable with him now that he's a few weeks in. And I think that Miami can go and get the win here. Next is an AFC North matchup, and this is a really interesting one. Most people would have looked at the beginning of the year and said, well, Ravens are going to take out the Steelers. There's no issue there. But I think both of these teams are really close. The Ravens have been playing well. They've had solid wins recently where what did they win? They beat the Bengals on Thursday night. Previous to that, they had a big win at home against Denver, and Denver certainly isn't that slouch this year. But then when you look at the Steelers, like they had a bye week a couple weeks ago. They went on the road and beat the Commanders, which is a tough matchup. And then winning against the Steelers and the Giants and the Jets. So, this one is really back and forth. And this is for so late in the season. This is the first time that they're meeting. Like they're going to be able to meet again later on. I think I'm going to give the slight edge to the Steelers here. I think, they've got a really tough defense, and I think Russell Wilson does well enough at quarterback offensively to then get a result here. I think if this is switched and it's in Baltimore, I would probably give Baltimore the edge. But I think Pittsburgh can come in here and put some pressure on Baltimore and say, we're not going to give away we're not going to let the AFC title race go so easily. We're going to fight for that. And I think Pittsburgh could get the victory here. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going out to LA to face the Chargers. Bengals had a tough loss against the Ravens, a 1-point loss there. But really over the last few weeks, they've been looking solid. Maybe other than their loss to the Eagles a few weeks back, but when there's some tough games, like they're right in there. And the Chargers, for me, I think they're I don't think it's a team where there's many surprises. Like they are gonna go in and get the wins against the teams they're supposed to, and then probably lose against the teams that are playing better than them. And in this case, I do think the Bengals are playing better. than the Chargers. So I am going to give the Bengals the victory here. I think the Bengals are looking a little bit better. I know that they've had a very rocky start, but they're very much in it. If they can put some wins together, they're very much in the playoff conversation. Next must be the game of the week. Kansas City going out to Buffalo. Again, there's big playoff rivalries here, and Kansas City is the only undefeated team, but they keep on winning. It doesn't matter how close the game is. Doesn't matter if they're facing down a game-winning field goal from the other team. Doesn't matter if they have to go to overtime. They just go in and get the victory. But I think Buffalo is a different animal here. I think Buffalo has seen Kansas City a number of times, and I think maybe this is the one time. And honestly, if this isn't the time that Kansas City loses, I don't see them losing at any other point in the season. So I'm going to lean that Buffalo get the win here, and it's really going to be up in the air. I think it could be a really good game, but I think Buffalo are going to win here. And then that might mean that if they face off in the playoffs, Kansas City might get the better of them in the playoffs. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that's the case. But for right now, the Buffalo Bills get the win, finally give Kansas City their first loss of the season. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts going out to New York to face the Jets. For the Colts, sounds like they're putting back in Anthony Richardson back at quarterback. So it's kind of interesting. I'm curious of what that means for his confidence or what Indianapolis is looking for here. Perhaps then it's just a case of Joe Flacco wasn't much of an improvement, so they might as well give the young guy an opportunity to get some more reps in. And the Jets, 3-7. What can they do? And really, at 3-7, they're not far off from being in a playoff conversation. Right now in the AFC, the third wild card spot is filled by a 4-6 team. So they're actually not that far off. So if they could actually put some wins together, they could potentially push there. And I think this is one where they can get the victory. I don't know if I'm confident in Anthony Richardson stepping up and making a big impact. And I think Jets will do just enough to get the win here. Then we take a look further down, and we have the Minnesota Vikings going out to Tennessee to face the Titans. Vikings had a close win against the Jaguars. Again, looking at how they're playing, they aren't the same as what they were at the beginning of the year where they went on that unbeaten run. And, you look at a close win against the Jaguars, and you look at a close win against the Colts, and where's the next one here? The loss to the Rams, and so the loss to the Lions that kind of started all this. They aren't really firing on all cylinders in the same way. Now, the Titans aren't necessarily doing much either. Losing to the Chargers, a close win against the Patriots, but those wins are few and far between for the Titans. And so even though it may not be pretty, I think I am going to give Minnesota another win here against Tennessee. But they've got to find kind of some of that gelling power that they had at the beginning of the year, and how well they were playing at the beginning of the year, because we're not seeing it in the same way, and that might have a big impact on them as they finish out the rest of the year. The next one here, we have the Cleveland Browns coming off of a bye week going up against the New Orleans Saints. I went and predicted the Saints to beat the Falcons last week. That coach firing bump that most teams seem to get. And the Browns have had their own struggles. They lost to the Chargers a couple weeks ago. And what was their... that was a couple weeks ago. I do think that they're a little bit better with Jameis Winston at quarterback than they were with Deshaun Watson. But it's going to be interesting to see, like, okay, well, who's going to come out on top? I do think the Saints will kind of return back to the struggles that they had earlier. I don't see them necessarily going on a big run of wins now that they've had a change in coaches. They usually get that game bump and then they come back from that. On top of the fact that maybe Cleveland has a week under their belt to sort some things out, I'm going to give the win to Cleveland for this matchup. Next, we have the LA Rams going across the country to face the New England Patriots. Patriots sitting at 3-7, had that nice win against the Bears. Drake May, I think, is seeming to be pretty solid. He still will make some mistakes, but I think continuing to nurture that talent might be something good for the Patriots moving forward. The Rams had a tough loss against the Dolphins, but I do see them, when they're healthy and playing well, that they are doing well. And I do give them the edge over the Patriots here. Would I be surprised if they then kind of start trending in the wrong direction and maybe another good performance from the Patriots and Drake May turns out to be a fourth win for the Patriots? That could happen too, but I'm going to lean towards the Rams on this one. Next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars going out to Detroit to face the Detroit Lions. Close game against the Vikings. However, not a lot of offense with Mac Jones as the quarterback. Looking into it, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is again out injured for this game, already ruled out. Not a good sign. And so I think this one could be ugly. Similar to, I think, when Jacksonville had played, I forget who it was, but they played someone early and lost by, it was like 4 or 5 touchdowns or something significant like that. I think Detroit's going to easily run through Jacksonville, unfortunately for Jacksonville, and get the victory here. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons facing the Denver Broncos. Falcons sitting on top of the NFC South with a 6-4 record, and the Broncos with a 5-5 record is good enough for a wild card spot so far in the AFC. So both teams kind of potentially set to be in the playoffs. We'll see as the next fixtures continue, but this is an interesting one to call because the Falcons, I would look at maybe being the better team, but I think they are inconsistent at times. They lost to the Saints last week. They haven't necessarily blown teams out of the water. The wins that they have, are close wins, but, there are circumstances like, a couple weeks where they beat the Tampa Bay Bucks, but that was right after both of their top wide receivers were out, and still only won that by a small amount. Only won against the Cowboys by a small amount. Where then I think Denver has also been solid too. Now they're up and down because Bo Nix isn't, like, as a rookie quarterback, is not always going to be consistent, but I think the Broncos are trending in the right direction and continue to do well. Like 5-5 is much better than what most people would have predicted at the beginning of the year. It was more than what I predicted at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to say that the home team wins here. The Broncos can come out, even though that tight loss against the Chiefs last week, I think they can come in and now get a win against the Atlanta Falcons. Then we look at our Monday night game, and we have the Houston Texans going out to Dallas. I'm not sure who is starting for Dallas, if it's still going to be Cooper Rush or if it's going to be Trey Lance. But Dak Prescott out for the season, I think that's, you look at this season and say, well, I think this is going to be a wash. Maybe if we don't get too many wins, we get a solid draft pick position. Like, I don't know if you really can say much more than that. Maybe someone like Trey Lance, who was originally a top draft pick, is someone that you could build a future around. If you're considering not signing Dak Prescott for more, we'll see. Just generally, this is Houston's game to win, right? If they lose this, this is a huge upset, and then there's concerns about where Houston's heading and can they, be as successful as they should be, right? In a weak AFC South, they should be winning the division, but can they do more than that? And I think they're going to go and win this game pretty comfortably. Then we go take a look at some NFC matchups, and the first one's a really good one. Washington Commanders and Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams in a strong position to be in the NFC East title race. This is an important matchup because either person or either team that wins could then go and take the whole division. This one I think is going to be back and forth. A great Thursday night game. And it's really hard to separate the two. Washington's been really solid, but I think the Eagles have been too, and they've had some great wins. I am going to lean the home team and give it to the Eagles. Maybe a little bit more consistency, but it's maybe the creative chaos of Jaden Daniels can be enough that they can get the win. However, I'm going to lean Eagles here, take maybe the safe pick in the win here. Next, we have the Green Bay Packers going out to Chicago. Green Bay coming off of a bye, which I always like to favor. However, division matchups are always close. The Bears having a tough time against the Patriots. Not a whole lot of offense. And I'm curious if then Green Bay comes in, game plans well, and can get a solid victory here. And that's what I'm going to predict, is that the bye week gives Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love an extra week to rest up, as well as then take on the Bears and be able to get a solid win here. Continue their push towards the playoffs. This might mean that the Bears are starting to fall off. That'll put them as 4-6, which again, right, I know some people were predicting Chicago to make the playoffs, do something similar like C.J. Stroud did with Houston, but I think this is a good starting year for Caleb Williams, and if he can build on that and build success, I think Chicago is still in a good spot in the future. But for now, I still rate the Packers to come in and get a victory. The last matchup we have is the Seattle Seahawks coming off of a bye week, going out to division rivals San Francisco to face the 49ers. Now, this one's a tough one because despite our initial thoughts when we think about the beginning of the year and who would be the better team, the 49ers are kind of generally seen as the better team. However, as I stated before, division games are always much closer than what is normally predicted. And with Seattle coming off of a bye week, that might favor them to then be extra game plan for what San Francisco brings. Now, part of the reason why I think San Francisco has struggled is because they haven't had Christian McCaffrey. And even watching him last week, he's only going to be in there limited times. They certainly don't want to rush him back and put him on a lot of carries and a lot of snaps. But I think he's slowly going to get back into the rhythm of things and be able to take on a heavier load as we continue. But this is really tough. I think this could come down to a field goal, but I am going to lean just to the 49ers here to get the victory. I think it'd be really a tough scenario to look at if you were going to look at the standings. And if 49ers go and drop to 5-5, that gives Arizona a clear opportunity to pursue the NFC West title if they can keep up their performances. But I think 49ers can go 6-4, be tied with the Cardinals, and potentially regain their NFC West title this year. So that's it. Those are all of my predictions. You can take a look at all of them here. thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you want to put your own comments or predictions down, put them in the comments below. And yeah, that's my predictions. Hopefully I can go 11-3 again, or maybe even better. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.